of, oh, oh, continue. um, it can be easy to still feel the residual weight of winter when you begin spring. And to me, in relational terms, that means like if you have trauma, if you've been wounded at any point, chances are when you find love again in the spring, you might be a little bit hesitant. You might struggle to receive it. So this song is about not only like opening yourself to receive love, but it's also about um, remembering that you are love. Like that's what you're made of. So yeah, so this song is called Into Love. I don't know. I don't think that I'm the. I think that I'm not the main. Maybe I am. I don't know what the view is on. I'm on gallery. I don't know. But anyways,
We
maybe
are
it doesn't
trying to
matter.
pin you right. We're trying to get you on the
No, it's
spotlight right
fine.
now, and I'm
Yeah.
actually writing a note to Paul. Please
We
be our co-host.
I've got it pinned. I've got it pinned.
Make me
Can
a
everybody in the
co-host.
room see that Brooke on the main screen?
Make me a
Oh,
co-host, please.
oh yes, absolutely. I thought you were a co-host already. All right, we're good. We should be good. And Brooke is pinned.
Yeah. So the song's called Into Love, and you can listen to it everywhere. Well, it seems my hands are tied. Should I take a left or a right? I spend so much time forgetting that this life chose me. You can't tell a blossom to hurry. Take my fears and turn them into love. Please help me to remember that I am love. Please don't take for granted this precious life you're given. Take your fears and turn them into love. Well, I've made a mess again. Am I even worth saving? The universe is painting a story for me. Sometimes it's formless and confusing. Take my fears and turn them into love. Please help me to remember that I am love. Please don't take for granted this precious life you're given. Take your fears and turn them into love. That was called Into Love. And I feel like I can say this here. Nobody knows about this. Secrets. Um, so for this album, I'm actually writing a book that goes with it. I did that last year with my last album called Something in the Sky. I wrote a coinciding book that has different exercises, my personal stories, poems, my illustrations, and it directs you to listen to the album at the end of every chapter. You can find my book, Something in the Sky, and the album as well on my website, brookdmusic.com. But yeah, I'm working on a book for this album as well because sometimes I write an album and it's not that it's not enough because I do think it's enough and I think that you can receive and learn the things I'm talking about by listening to the songs, but I feel like expanding upon it and putting it in a book form to deeper express like the themes of these songs really resonates with me. And plus, I love multimedia experiences. So, yeah, so this next book will come out hopefully November 2021. Um, Love notes in a book form. So, yeah, I'm excited to announce that because I haven't said it out loud to anyone really besides my family. They just know I'm feverishly working on a book. So, yeah, I just want to say how grateful I am again to be here among poets because I feel like that's my, I don't know, these are my people. And, as poets, we can be very hermity, and I'm definitely that, and especially during the pandemic, extra hermity. But it's lovely to be in community, even in the virtual space with you guys. So I feel very, very fortunate. Yeah, so this next song is the last song on the record. It's called Home. And it's about that sensation of like finding home within yourself and feeling that sense of belonging that sometimes we feel dissipates depending on relationships or depending on if we're alone or not. But home is really like it's about coming home to yourself and knowing that that relationship internally is the most important thing that we cultivate because it touches everything else. So this is called Home. Can't be your other half, 'cause I'm whole. Can't make you who you're not, 'cause that would be control. And I won't listen when my mind tells me to go. There's a song in my heart that already knows. I am not alone. The sky above me is guiding me home. Get me out of the way, so I stop searching, stop seeking. Please guide me home. Can't be your everything, 'cause that would be boring. Desire is made from the mystery, and I can listen to the echoes of history. I can't go back, that's not the way I'm going. I am not alone. The sky above me is guiding me home. Get me out of the way, so I stop searching. I'll stop seeking. Please guide me home. Yeah, so that was called Home.
Oh, they recorded it.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you can find that on all platforms. And I also did a live performance with my guitar mentor Mark Whitfield, him playing along with me on this record as well. So Yeah, you can find these very personal songs on all the things that you listen to music on, and stay tuned for the book part of it.
Could we impose upon you for one more song, Brooke?
One
Would
more
that be?
song?
Oh, we'd love to have one more song, please, please.
What mood are we asking for?
I
Sassy or
oh,
somber?
Whoa, you
let's
got
go
sass?
sassy. Let's go
Let's try
sassy.
sass.
Saturday night. We want to be sassy.
I always want to be sassy, so I totally resonate
I felt
with
like that
that.
was the right answer.
Ooh, yeah. Sounds great.
This is a song I don't know when it will come out. It's not definitely on my next. It's on my next record. It's about when you. I don't know. It's about the systems in place, but it's also about when you like enter new relationships or new circumstances where people try to tell you what to do, and you don't want to do what they ask or tell you. Nobody knows about that here, right? um, but yeah, so this song is called Dish/Spoon, and to me, I don't know. I think as a female-bodied person, often people are so curious about when you're gonna have babies and when you're gonna settle down and all that stuff, and I am very much about staying groundless. How about that? Floating. So this song is called Dish Spoon. I stay up too late most nights. I am running late most days. I'll try again tomorrow. Will you wait? You said no. I was stumbling, you saw me. Foundation crumbling, you held me. I had so much to say, and you're listening. You must care about me. I don't wanna love you, I don't wanna miss you. I won't be the dish that ran away with the spoon. Did I ruin this like I always do? I'm a piece of work, they tell me. Too many dreams that I'm envisioning. You might have to choose just one thing. I said no. You wanted to be free, I let you go. Then you come back to me for more. You had so much to say, but I closed the door. You don't live here anymore. I don't love you, I don't miss you. I won't be the dish that ran away with the spoon. Did I ruin this like I always do? When the room is quiet, oh so quiet, what will I do? Will I lose myself? When I lose you, when the room is quiet, oh so quiet, what will I do? Will I lose myself? When I lose you, when the room is quiet, oh so quiet, what will you do? Will you lose yourself? When I lose you, when the room is quiet, oh so quiet, what will I do? Will I lose myself? When I lose you. Yeah, so that's called Dish Spoon. I just did a live performance of it. It's on YouTube. I can drop the link in the chat, but that's the only place you can hear that because it's not released yet.
Oh yes, please do drop that. Please do drop that link in the
Yeah,
chat
we're
screen.
gonna share the
So
link
much.
on
Yeah.
Yeah,
the video
because
page
we want to get the
on
word out
Facebook.
about you. You are one of our most treasured resources in this
Oh.
community.
Oh.
And if everybody could just turn off their mute for a moment, and let's give a big hand for Brooke D, who.
Oh, thank
Wow,
you.
my volume is suddenly very high. I noticed that there. Yowza, yowza. That's very good. That's very good. I wanted to say, oh, we've got everybody coming in, from across the country. Brooke all the way from Brooklyn. No, Brooke happens to be in the Bay Area right now.
I'm
Which is great.
always traveling somewhere.
But you are, but in that way, but you've brought Brooklyn to us, and we appreciate that very, very much.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for including me in this. Like, it's really a dream come true to be in community with all of you still. So thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those things we feel just has no choice but to work its way back to come back to maybe a more sustainable way of what we had going before. That's the great hope anyway. So, and thank you for contributing to that and for being a part of it, Brooke. So, all right. Brooke D, check her out on all the platforms. That's the SoundCloud, that's the Bandcamp. All of those are in play, and apparently also Napster. Also, Brooke is also live on Napster. MySpace. Are you on MySpace by chance?
Actually, not. That's the one platform I'm not on.
It's still going. You just say, MySpace is still out there. You could probably still get on it.
Oh my
So
goodness.
if you're like me, you're Brooke's on that. Thanks. But thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
And now I think we will turn it over. And the Lyrics and Dirges, as I was saying before, is the reading series that that goes back to 2010. And I was fortunate, I was blessed enough to be able to attend the very first Lyrics and Dirges. It was a historic moment, it was a historic reading on a very historic weekend in 2010. And of course, the masterminds behind it, if I recall right, Tomas Moniz was involved with you and with both of you, right, in establishing Lyrics and Dirges. Is that correct? Sharon,
yes,
M.K, yes.
M.K and myself and Tomas Moniz started Lyrics and Dirges in, I think it was August 2010.
Yeah, 2010 is the year for sure.
August or September, something like that. Yeah, it was August. And so
August.
We are celebrating our 11th anniversary today with the Beast Crawl.
Yep. And of course, you guys are, you guys have worked on so many things. Sharon, you've been involved with other series like Milvia Street Journal, and both of you have been involved with the Berkeley Poetry Festival too. In a way, I feel like you're like two of the powerhouses of the Berkeley Poetry Festival, kind of represented in one reading. And it's always good to have you on board. So, so this is the part where I am going to close my big mouth and hand it over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Paul and Yosef and Missy and everybody else who has brought the Beast Crawl back. Oh my God, we've loved the Beast Crawl, and we have curated a reading for the Beast Crawl since the beginning. And we're just so happy that it's returning to its roots and to the genius and the love that created it in the first place. And we're hoping that, well, next year in place, or we'll be virtual if that's what the situation is. But the fact is, we're here, we're making things happen, we're bringing new diverse readers to the forefront. We are creating community and creating the future that we want. As Wes Nisker always said, if you don't like the news, create some of your own. So we've been creating new news. I don't know if the newspapers want to cover us, but that's another thing. We have been covered by Berkeley Side in the past, but thank you for everything. And MK and myself and Tomas Moniz founded this reading series 11 years ago to feature, our mission statement is to feature the diverse voices of the East Bay. At that time, there wasn't a lot of diversity in readings. There was the token system, and usually it was the same person or the same small pool of people who would be that, and really bad. And we were, and not only that, but the whole poetry world was like, here are going to be the cafe poets, here's going to be the postmodern poets, here's going to be the confessional poets, and we mix it up. We create and invite all kinds of readers to our readings. And we reach out. We started with the rule that for each reading, we invite new readers, so we don't keep repeating and we don't constantly have the same pool of readers. So we were able to carry that out for a very long time, and we're still with that spirit of reaching out and pulling from new readers. We do sometimes repeat readers when they have a new book coming out. We love to celebrate those new books that they have, and helping to know that we're creating the community that helps those books be written and published and out there. So MK and I have been carrying the torch ourselves for, I guess, I'm not sure when Tomas, he took a hiatus and has, to write books, and that's what he's done. So the majority of the time of Lyrics and Dirges has been myself and M.K. Chavez, and I couldn't think of a more wonderful person to collaborate on for all this time. And we also are the co-directors of the Berkeley Poetry Festival. So keep your ears out. We're having a new website, and we're going to be celebrating the new Berkeley Poetry Festival coming up soon. So let's get to our readers. So we are really excited to have a lineup of wonderful readers. And we're going to begin with Rose Heredia. Rose is Afro-Dominican from Billyburg, Brooklyn, New York, and living in Oakland. She is an MFA. She has an MFA in creative writing from the University of San Francisco. She is a Vona Voices alum, has read at the Inside Story Time series, The Racket at Adobe Books, Lit Crawl, About Last Night storytelling series, and at Word Performance. She is currently an assistant nonfiction editor for Vida Review and is a contributing writer to Epiphania magazine. So let's give it up for Rose.
Hi all. Thank you, Sharon and MK, for having me. It's my first time reading with y'all, and also my first time reading for the Beast Crawl. So this is fun. So my piece is called Everyone's Waiting. Death and the fear of mortality haunted me for 3 years before I watched 6 Feet Under and made the decision to move cross country and start a new life. I was 27 and my 25-year-old cousin Raul had tragically passed away in Dominican Republic, found in a ditch off a freeway. His death rocked me in ways I didn't expect. He'd never have children. He'd never grow old. I would never see his kind face again. It was 2009 and the recession was in full effect. I had tried my hand in different industries, publishing, film production, and education, failing and falling back into my middle school passion, writing. Thinking about my life, I sunk all my energy into my craft. I attended numerous writing workshops and visited many MFA schools in the city, contemplating obtaining higher education. I was rejected by all my schools and had a revelation a year later. Why wait to move from New York City if I could just save up money and leave? I had banked on moving for my MFA, but decided to save up money instead and continue without that prospect. While saving for this big move, I had second thoughts. Was I making the right decision? Should I stick it out in my beloved city longer? My job at the time was unfulfilling and romantic prospects were non-existent. My friends were paired up and I wasn't having any new experiences. While I contemplated this move in progress, I watched HBO 6 Feet Under years after its final season had aired. The story of the Fishers captured and filled me with optimism, love, and compassion. Hello? I think I hear somebody. Okay. The pilot season, rife with tension and humor in the face of loss, enraptured me. I, like most viewers, saw myself in their family dynamics. Nathan was my brother. I was Claire. David was my mom, and Nathan Sr. was my father. While Claire was in high school, I was years out of college, but felt clueless and naive as a teenager Claire. I connected to all the characters on the show. 5 seasons were binged before it became a ubiquitous term and culture, and the final season solidified my decision to change scenery. The last episode, titled Everyone's Waiting, which I watch often, showed Claire driving off to New York City with no work prospects or place to live. A year later, I'd be boarding a plane to California to start a new life in the exact same situation. The beautifully executed ending showing death in the most beautiful and random way that can be, just like the rest of the show had been each season. After wiping the last tear off my face and I could no longer hear the last notes of Sia's Breathe Me playing from the montage at the end of the show, I wrote, "Never have I seen life showcased in all its beautiful glory, the way that it can be with death and life all in one." I appreciated my life just a little more because of my decision to move, and this show validated that. Months later, prior to giving notice at work, a childhood friend who lived in the apartment building next to mine passed away. He was 30 years old and had left behind a wife and 2 kids. I was 29 at the time. I wept for him, attended his wake, talked to his mom. When I saw his still body in the coffin, I wanted to touch him, truly believe his life was over. Thought he would sit up and say, "Gotcha," but none of those things happened. His body would be buried and I'd never see him again, unless she showed up in my dreams, as people do. His death affected me in a different way. I might die tomorrow, I thought. I don't have anything left to lose by moving cross country where I knew no one. I had this one life, and if California was calling me, I was answering the call. I felt an urgency to leave. I couldn't wait to get on that plane. When I arrived in California, I had that newness glow. Everything in the city was an adventure, a ride, an experience. I visited Dominican Republic in December that first year in San Francisco for the holidays. Being on that land, I finally mourned Raul's death properly. I missed his energy, hearing about his struggle to make a family with his girlfriend and work. I felt a void and managed to quietly lament his absence in my parents' spare bedroom. Christmas morning, my dad woke me up. My maternal grandfather had died in his sleep. He was 100 years old, give or take a few years. Mom was a wreck. I was numb. What amazed me was the quick turnaround of the funeral process. Within hours, family members had flooded my grandmother's home. Food was served and a carafe of coffee. His body had been cleaned and clothed, a coffin purchased, and a wake was in progress that afternoon. The next day, there was a church service and he was buried. No time was wasted for the dead. The next 7 to 9 days were to be observed sitting like Shiva for his death, praying for his salvation with snacks and drinks. I, once more, was reminded of my mortality, everything I had to live for, everything ahead of me, what and who was important to me. I arrived back to the States in the new year, appreciating my decision to leave that much more. 1 month later, another cousin, Emmanuel, at 30 years old, I learned also passed away. His hands had helped place our grandfather's body in the coffin and grave. Now he would be sharing the family plot with him. His death also wrecked me. Like Raul, we had grown up together, had many joyful memories. I was devastated for months. Tried hard to cope by doing what I always did when blue, ate and watched television shows or movies. I tried to go out dancing. Because I lived so far away from family and friends, I didn't have anyone to provide any emotional support. My roommates at the time weren't my friends, and I still felt new in the city. Emmanuel was actually my friend. While we hadn't had a real conversation during my grandfather's wake, I knew we could pick up where we left off, no matter how much time had passed between visits. When I finally returned to Dominican Republic a year later, my grief, never processed, hit me hard. I went out with a female cousin who tried to engage me. We weren't really friends. I drank too much because I was bored, and we went to a nearby chicken spot. I held back tears as we discussed our mutual cousin, and then we took a motorbike, like a taxi, back to my parents' spot. With heavy sadness and drunkenness, I didn't notice until the next morning I had burned myself on the muffler of the motorbike. A huge welt had formed on my right calf, a faded scar that I will forever equate with my grief. 6 Feet Under had provided me with a gift and an out. Each episode started with a random death and illustrated how loss affected people. For me, the deaths around me nudged me to make drastic decisions. In New York City, I wasn't challenged. Like at work and school, when I get bored, I check out. I had checked out at living. I wasn't having any fun, going through the motions of what life was supposed to look like. By the time Raul died, I was contemplating a change, and with each death, I knew I had to leave the comforts of life and start anew. Like Claire in 6 Feet Under, I saw the road ahead of me, and I didn't look back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose. Sharon, I'm not sure if you want to say anything. Otherwise, I'll just take it away. Okay. Thank you so much. We're so thrilled to have you join us. I want to actually do a little shout out for some people who are actually here. Over the years, we have had people come and guest curate at Lyrics and Dirges. And so I just wanted to do a little shout out for Trey and Cassandra and Larko Mura, who isn't here, who actually hosted a few different Lyrics and Dirges. So I just wanted to acknowledge them and say that, you know, really has been community that has kept us going this long. We were so excited about our 3 writers, and so I'm going to go ahead and introduce the second reader for today. And before I read her bio, I just want to say you all are in for a really huge treat. I feel like, you know, you meet writers in the community and you hear their work, and sometimes you just are kind of blown away at how kind of perfect their work is to inspire you and get you writing. And Marian is one of those writers for me. So I'm really happy that Marian has joined us today. Marian Flores is a writer and nationally recognized leadership coach with a long history of working in US communities of color on issues of social and economic justice. Her writing is rooted in that experience and explores the intersection of exile, spirituality, and identity. She is an alum of the Kearney Street Interdisciplinary Writers Lab, the Napa Valley Writers Conference, and the Highlights Foundation Whole Novel Workshop. A Salvadorian immigrant, she and her wife live in California's East Bay. Welcome, Marian.
Thank you so much, M.K. Thank you to you and Sharon for curating and emceeing today. Thank you to Rosa for the wonderful opening and Jenni for the powerful closing to come. I'm going to read a small group of poems today, and I will give a little bit of an intro as I go. This is my first reading on Zoom, and it's a little bit odd, and MK reminded me not to look around the room because you're all right here. You're at my dining room table, so welcome. Thank you for joining. The first poem I'm offering as an invocation for the reading, and it's called Ceremony for the Mother Tongue. We used to dream of a baptism, a mikveh, still clear waters that would purify us, leave us dainty, cheerful, without spills, without temper, the 4 corners of little girl holiness. We concealed ourselves, rounding vowels, softening sounds, resting tongue at palate, letting fear hide behind silent consonants. We released all our childhood names into the blue-black ocean sky, letting waves devour our tender diminutives while the cold scraped us clean, stripped of the easy disguises, hija, hermana, nieta. For years, our accents carried the night freight, pocketing meaning like green sea stones. We cast a lonelier spell today as we swim across this muddy lake, vast enough to swallow all violation. We climb onto the raft, listen to the waves lap against water-softened wood. We gather our dream names to invoke la madre lengua, then. So for some 30 years, I've kept an altar, and I've always struggled with the redemptive, suffering frame that surrounds so many women in the Catholic tradition. But nonetheless, my altar until recently was home to multiple representations of the Virgin Mary. And then in a poetry gathering with two friends earlier this year, Edith, who's here, is one of them. Edith mentioned Setna, the Inuit deity of the ocean deep and its creatures. And listening just a little bit to the story of Setna as Edith related it, I felt what I can only describe as a transmission. And as you will hear, I transformed my altar as a result. This poem is called The Things I Will Not Carry. Strip my altar of lithe virgins with or without child. No more kneeling women made pure by suffering. Make room for Setna, of blue-gray skin and mermaid tail, hands maimed by a father's violence. Her sacrificed fingers spread seeds of fish, seal, walrus, whale across frigid ocean currents. Light incense, light candle, here she will rest, long hair combed, braided by sculptor's hand. Bow to the mother of the murky depths of rage, of grief made into flames water cannot quench, her fire so complete it vomits life to feed the world. So during the pandemic, many of us have found ourselves doing things we might not have done or done as much of before. We've taken up hobbies, we've exercised, we've binged TV, and some of us have Googled our exes. This is one such tale. He used to be a Playboy lawyer. Now he's a painter, wresting tentative brushstrokes out of silence, his brain dividing him from himself. I just found him online. His website displays a comeback of sorts. A splotchy pink lily flutes against a purple sparkling field. Lips dodge clouds in a yellow sky. Watches fall, deformed, tumbling into a pile. Where is the man who taught me how to snuff out a flame with my fingers? Who flattened me with the straight-lined windstorm of his lies? How I railed, cursing him. Yes, I know, I was not alone. So many women loathed him as I did. I wonder, which one of us walked past the Blue Virgin in the shop window to enter the Botanica on 18th Street and stepped around the silent German shepherd guarding the door to buy the heart of a black-chinned hummingbird? Which one of us burned and swallowed it, soot and all, chanting his name in the bitter honey of our mouths? Did we somehow assemble into a flock, a thrumming blaze of tiny gray wings, impaling him with our maledictions? I know, don't think like that. Still, the artist's photograph shows him sweet, a face of dimples, his eyes on his hands, no accounts left to settle. My hands hold a bony skeleton of hate and desire. I have wasted my rage. So this next poem requires a little background, a little more background. It's about the Highlander Center. It's called Coyote at the Highlander Center, Newmarket, Tennessee. And the Highlander Center, for those of you who may not know it, is a civil rights and movement training center in the hills that become the Smoky Mountains in rural Tennessee. It's about, I think, 85 years old, maybe. I first went to Highlander in 1987 when I was 21 years old, and I returned multiple times there to work on environmental justice and to visit loved ones. And then in the mid-2000s, my then partner, Pam McMichael, became the director of the center, and I lived part-time and sometimes full-time there for almost 7 years. And this poem reflects on the experience of living in a place that is hated by many of its white supremacist neighbors. And as you will hear, the poem anticipates the violent arson that was committed at the center 2 years ago. Coyote at the Highlander Center, Newmarket, Tennessee. I'm sitting on the sky blue rocker, half reading while the mountains begin to shadow. There's a coyote on the hill, crunching up the gravel road. All gray gold fur and sway of glinting tail, he turns into the top of our driveway like he's coming over for dinner. He looks up and freezes. I stop rocking. I lower my book, look down at the pasture to count the cows. They're complete. The donkeys brought in to protect the cattle have wandered down to the pond, so nonchalant they might as well be standing around a water cooler. I stare at the coyote. I can see his ribs expand and contract, metric like a clock. My breathing tracks to his, keeping pace with his rise and fall. How many bounds would it take for him to pounce on me? I always sound for danger, listening for strange transmissions, hunting for Confederate flags and other emblems, writing down license plates of intruders. One weekend, during a surge of threat, we kept guard at the gates. I patrolled from my bed, a sentry, awake to movements on the land. I've argued, even begged, for a rifle to row me through the dismal nights, but all I have is a bow and arrow forgotten somewhere at the back of the house. I turn the rocker towards the door without breaking our stair. I can get inside before he gets to the porch and up the steps. I start to rock again, pick up my book, feign reading. He's not fooled. A gritty current stretches taut between us. I think about who belongs here, about these mountains and what travels across them. Katydids and frogs begin their evening tirade. The coyote and I lock into an undertow. Any moment, the mountains will exhale a cold rolling wave and change the air tonight. These next two poems are about the relationships of women across generations. While she smokes, a girl crouches in a sunlit stairwell, body pressed against the sandy wall. As she plays with silver coils, humming the Brazilian songs that seep out from under the door, entwined with the smoke of her mother's bitter cigarettes. Sometimes she hears her singing, sometimes she hears her sobbing. If she waits, the morning will be done. The mother will appear at the top of the stairs, face washed smooth, and one of them will say, the stairs are the only place the slinky works. A lineage of absence. I come from a long line of absent women who folded themselves into small envelopes. When it came time for them to mother, they offered scraps, glints of light, let me start over. A lineage of absence. I come from a long line of absent women who folded themselves into small envelopes. When it came time for them to mother, they offered scraps, glints of light stripped from the tender they had scavenged. Their daughters wailed, full of hungry twists, until each one alone became a mistress of thrift and began to pleat herself into tiny folds. This last poem is about Frida Kahlo and Pablo Picasso, both iconic and problematic figures. And it is focused around Frida Kahlo's visit to Paris in 1939, where she visited at the invitation of André Breton to exhibit her work. And she spent time in Paris as she prepared and opened and then basked in the reception of her exhibit. And while there, she became ill and was hospitalized. And so this poem envisions a conversation between Pablo Picasso and Frida Kahlo sometime after that hospitalization. Frida Kahlo and Pablo Picasso play parlor games in Paris. She draws and releases her first two arrows. Why do you bend your women? Why do you break them like things? His body poised for flirtation recoils at her concentrated force. I want to see inside, he answers, halting. I want to see inside. He watches the floreo of her hands as she smokes, as she talks, wrists and fingers moving in an opening spiral. When will you tire of painting yourself, he asks. She laughs like a small volcano showering ash on his lap. I will look away when you are faithful, she answers. The hospital haze still distills her body into a tincture of pain. She is an acid butterfly. her black brows wing across her painted face. He returns to seduction, all voluptuous gestures. She invites him to come closer. He leans in, hungry, eyes on her mouth. I have one just like you at home, and I am too tired, she says, dismissing him. She rearranges her rustling skirts, hands laden with silver rings. Tell me about the color blue, she commands. The air changes between their chairs. Blues are always forgetting their color, he tells her, and describes how he mixes his blues and then names them. She details how she paints the eyes so liquid. Feet planted proud, he shows her his method for framing the canvas. They talk of light, the impossibility of volume, of how she condenses color as he condenses shape. When he asks about her garden, she sketches the paths, the plants, the monkeys. You hold your pen like a needle, he declares. You make your brush a weapon, she retorts. She repeats her first question, why do you bend your women? Splitting the body can be an act of love, he explains, or the act of a murderer gathering trophies, she whispers. She falls back to deliver a third arrow. Your paintings are monuments. How is that the present? Everything you paint is a dream, he deflects, shrugging. I only paint the real, she parries, bending her braided head heavy with pink flowers. Wings unfurl at her back. Before she leaves Paris, he sends a small box emblazoned with the words, un trofeo. Nestled in cotton, there are two hands made into earrings, the wrists bound in metal, and underneath a note, mine or yours. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Could we have a moment to give Marian some love? Maybe folks can unmute themselves for a minute.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, beautiful.
Brunette.
Good job, everyone. That was really good.
Wow.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Our next reader is Jenni Qi, and 2020 was really hard, but good things did happen, right? And one of them is that Jenni Qi's book came out, and so I have been waiting for that book for a long time, and I'm so excited that we're able to host you here. If you don't have Jenni's book, please get it. You'll want to anyway. I don't even have to ask you because you'll want to after you hear Jenni read. I'm gonna read her bio and then Jenni will share. Jenni Qi is the author of the debut poetry collection Focal Point, winner of the 2020 Steel Toe Books Poetry Award. Her essays and poems have been published in the New York Times, The Atlantic, Tin House, Sisava, and elsewhere. She has received fellowships and support from Tin House, Omnidon, Kearney Street Workshop, and the San Francisco Writers Grotto. Born to Chinese immigrants, she grew up mostly in Las Vegas and now lives in San Francisco, where she completed her PhD in cancer biology and currently works in oncology consulting. She's working on more essays and poems and translating her late mother's memoirs of the Chinese Cultural Revolution and immigration to the US. Welcome, Jenni.
Thank you so much, M.K. and Sharon and Beast Crawl, and congrats to Paul on your book. I'm really glad Marian read that last poem on Picasso, and I feel like we're in sync here, so I'm going to change up my reading order a little. And I will start with a poem that is actually not in my book, that was somewhat inspired by Pablo Picasso. He said of Guernica that woman is a machine of suffering, and that line always stuck with me. And then I wrote this poem in response to an invitation by the visual artist Catalina Ouyang to write a poetic translation of her Title IX report, in which her university found her ex-boyfriend not guilty of raping her. So trigger warning here. Sorry, I should have said that earlier. This is machine learning. After considering the statements received from both parties, the panel found man's version of the events to be more credible than that of women. He has consistently denied any guilt or wrongdoing because he believes he has done nothing wrong. And belief in privilege grants privilege absolutely. Privilege is $34 million in payouts, career sabotage by espionage, systemic fear, a presidential sum. I told my father that the president assaulted 20 women. He said he's never heard that because, of course, the Chinese news stations wouldn't report it. But the women are probably lying because the president is rich and powerful, and women will do anything for a bit of money. The panel believes, based upon man's account, that man had clear nonverbal consent. That woman indicated nonverbal consent. The panel believes the man's account of the woman's actions, having learned over centuries that woman is capricious, hysterical, seductive, shrewd, curious like a black cat, guilty of original sin and every sin. Pandora, Eve, witch who dragged guileless man out of the warmth of womb into a world of pain, built a machine of suffering. I splutter like a dying engine, my broken Chinese fuming from the pipes insufficient to express my outrage. The panel is a machine that has been programmed to believe the man's story, to believe in the man. The algorithm tells it that man has a future whose brightness must be protected from the wiles of woman, whom the panel found to be well-spoken and verbally skilled. Therefore, she could have said no. Therefore, she would have said no. There she goes again, being outspoken, disobedient, unfeminine. There she goes again, trying to drag a good man down. In Chinese, all I manage is, how can you say that when you have a daughter? How can you have a daughter and still respect women so little? I hate when men say they condemn sexual violence as a father of daughters, but how can you condone sexual violence as a father of daughters? Probability. If you have 4 daughters, 1 daughter will be raped. The panel questioned her behavior after the alleged assault. She continued to exchange and initiate texts, invite him to her apartment, snuggle in bed together. She continued to love this man whom she had loved and trusted, who was now a part of her life, who had assaulted her. She thought maybe she was wrong, maybe she was overreacting. Maybe if she acted normal, she wouldn't lose everything. Later, sleepless with fury, I imagine another conversation in which I asked my father, did you know that a man assaulted mom before she met you? That she loved him? That she married you to escape the shame of her violation? The panel believes that woman's verbal expressions could be considered moaning by man, indicative of nonverbal consent. A woman's protests are no match for a man's insistence, a man's influence, a man's brute strength. Think of Lupita, who offered a massage so she could keep standing, said nothing after, knowing that too would be considered nonverbal consent. I don't tell my father I panic on the bus when I realize I forgot my pepper spray. I named her Hot Rod. A man followed me down a desolate street and I escaped into a bar, hid behind a stranger until I saw him leave. Another man approached me at a bus stop, insisting I was a runaway, offered a mattress and weed, wouldn't leave until I lied I had a boyfriend. He said, I don't believe you, but I'll go, out of respect for him. So I mentioned that I actually wrote this poem 4 years ago, and it is sadly still so very relevant today and in this week in particular, in light of the attack on women's rights. I'll move on to a shorter poem as kind of a breather. This is a poem from my book. This is 2 cures. One is to heal the wound, restore the body to a scar, a mark of neither quite past nor present. The other is to preserve insult, let the flesh wither and toughen so it withstands like a pillar. To cure a thing is to remove it from time. Am I cured? I am so salty. What if there is no cure? Only the moment I looked back, how my heart withered and brined. And I will read just 2 poems if we have time. The next one I feel like I have to read because of the theme of Slither. And that's all I'll say. The plural of us. The end of an us is a death without dying. Such a waste it seems to discard the dreams I dared beside you, turn familiar heart stone, each to our own separate deaths. Waking, I remember your crooked laugh, sitting in your car, watching the ocean crash, shape itself against stone, shape the stone. Think of starfish and its regenerating limbs. Think of the plural limbs of an octopus, like the octopus that slithered from its tank to freedom. The plural octopuses, octopodes, octopi, with all their limbs reaching. Think how the Latin plural of us is I. And just for the record, the actual correct plural of octopus is octopuses, not octopi, but I didn't realize that when I wrote the poem. And then I will end on one last poem that is maybe kind of on a lighter note. This is Contingencies, and this is the last poem in my book. Contingencies. Everywhere, somewhere is burning, and it's too late to look back. I wake up in the dark, smell smoke, so familiar I don't think twice. Some nights I wake with a start. Here, look at all these photos I haven't scanned. Clear my throat of dust again, these days inescapable. I imagine my lungs black like a chimney. Think of city haze, so thick it could not be measured. The scale of these days beyond conceiving. How the ancients imagined us, what it means to be immeasurable. I want to move to the mountains and breathe, which is to say, I want to be anywhere but here. I would build myself a nest atop the tallest tree. Say hello to the grizzlies and lost small birds. I would trace the stars' slow fire path into my palm like a poem. Let this be enough. I would be the mountain and the stars, be that immovable and that transient. Thank you, everyone.
Yay. Do we want to take a moment to unmute and give Jenni some love, some well-deserved love?
Yay.
Hey, Jenni.
Yay.
I feel like we went on this like magical tour. We went from we had 6 Feet Under, we had black-chinned hummingbirds, we had grizzlies and lost birds, and I'm just so grateful for the 3 of you reading today. Rose, appreciating so much your intimate and such beautifully human essay. And Marian, I really, your the poetic power of your work, the way that you move us in and out of mythical worlds is just magical. And Jenni, I want to say, the poetic preciseness of your work is just absolutely amazing. I'm always really grateful for any time that we can host a reading. I'd like to thank all of you, and if it's not too much to ask everyone to give all 3 of our writers a whole bunch of love, and love to Paul Corman Roberts for being one of the most dedicated literary citizens in the Bay Area, and to Yusuf Alawi for all his work. And for, I think you were doing some tech stuff here to keep us kind of online, right? So thank you for doing that. We so deeply appreciate you, and I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys some big applause. So thank you so much. Yay, literary community. Thank you. And that's the end of our show. So I hope that you'll be attending other events at Beast Crawl. So see you there. Thank you.
Collapse
Thank
Press
you
is up
so much,
next.
MK and Sharon. Yeah, Collapse Press is up next, and here is the link to that show coming up, and right there in the chat screen, and that'll be start. And you can join that at 6 p.m. The folks, if they want, can take a little bit of a break and grab something to drink, get a little something to nosh on, because that's very much in the spirit of the beast too. Taking those few minutes to get yourself right with your body and with your space for listening to poetry. It's not always easy. This is not easy listening. This is difficult listening. And we really appreciate you guys coming here and doing the work and doing the engagement with us. So there is that. So one more time, the link for the next reading coming up right at 6, or we're going to open the doors right around 6, or maybe a minute or 2 afterwards before we get to Collapse Press. Also, I do want to make just a quick pitch for the Beast Crawl fundraiser. For those of you who have given to the Beast, we thank you so much for your generous support. And if you contribute 25 or more, there's a T-shirt in it for you. So, and there is the link to the Beast Crawl fundraiser. So, one more time, if everybody could unmute yourself and give all of our readers, Jenni and Rose and Marian, and our curators, MK and Sharon, a big hand. And thank you for being stalwarts of the East Bay to help keep us going. This is inspiring us too.
Yay,
Hi,
team.
Timmy. Hi, Jack.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, you guys.
Hi.
Everybody. So we're gonna close it out, and we'll commit this one to the archives, and we hope to see you all back here at 6 p.m. And our musical guest at 6, go just a little bit after 6 p.m. Our musical guest twos. You don't want to miss twos, and you don't want to miss the Collapse Press authors. They're going to be fantastic. We'll see you in a little bit, everyone.
Also Moondrop Productions.
And Moondrop Productions after. Yeah, we're going to talk up Moondrop during Collapse. So yeah, Moondrop's out there too. We got 2 more to go today, and you guys have been champs. I love all the support. We'll see you in a bit.